Start us off, Kazarian versus Robbie E for the X Division title. This was nothing amazing, but it was a decent opener. Wasn't really an X Division style match because Robbie doesn't wrestle like that. But for a normal match, it was okay. Kazarian carried Robbie very well, and the right man went over. So that was good. Beer Money and Scott Steiner versus Gunnar Murphy and Rob Terry. This was, we need to get Beer Money and Steiner pay-per-view spots. That's all it was. This was a complete throwaway, and that's probably a good thing, because if they tried to make it anything more than that, this would have gotten really painful. Gunnar Murphy and Terry are just atrocious. When every single guy on the heel team is getting outperformed by Scott Steiner, that's a big damn red flag right there. But the match wasn't very long. The right team goes over strong. I really could not have asked for much more than that, all things considered. Samoa Joe versus the Pope. The match was alright. Joe taps out the Pope within like a second of getting the rear naked choke locked in, so Joe gets a little credibility back after Jarrett buried him. I liked that. But I didn't like the stuff after the match because that kind of undid everything. The Kato gimmick for Okada is just stupid. The Green Hornet was doing good business for a while, and now it's really not anymore. So this gimmick is already dated after just a few weeks. And I don't know where the hell you go with the Pope from here, but they have completely buried that guy. Which is a damn shame because this time last year he was one of the hottest young stars in the company. Madison Rayne versus Mickie James for the Knockouts title. Last woman standing. Remember when I said there was no way Madison Rayne was going to deliver a compelling last woman standing match? Boy, it is a real chore being right all the time, I gotta tell you. This was dull and really underwhelming after all the build-up. The finish was decently booked, I guess, but the match was as boring as we've come to expect from Madison Rayne matches. These women just don't match up well together, I'm sorry. I do feel bad for Mickie, because she deserves a better feud, and she really does look like she's trying to pull something good out of this, and you see glimpses of it every once in a while, but Madison is just not giving her much to work with. Madison wins again, so I guess they're going to try to drag this feud out until Lockdown, which means that in 2 months, TNA may actually subject us to a Madison Rayne cage match. They had a promo with Matt Morgan and Hernandez that was pretty pointless, I thought. They should have just saved that for Impact. There was no reason for it to be on this show. It was really all it did was take time away from the matches. Rob Van Dam versus Matt Hardy. This was better than their Genesis match. Matt seems to be in better shape now. It wasn't a bad match, but it wasn't that exciting either. I mean, they weren't even trying to get out of first gear until the last few minutes, and it did pick up a little bit then, but it's not like this was balls-to-the-wall action or anything. It was good for what it was. I just never felt like these guys were really going all out. Bully Ray versus Dvon. Street fight. Alright, this was kind of surprising to me. The match was nothing, but the angle I thought was good. First of all, I was very glad that Devon's kids did not turn heel, because that would have been way too predictable. But when Bully Ray handcuffed Dvon to the turnbuckle and beat up the kids and put one of them through the table, I liked that. Dvon sold it very well. The announcing was good, where they were like really quiet and subdued. And I thought this was actually really well done, because you've got a clear-cut face and a clear-cut heel who's going as evil as he can. That's how you generate heat. And TNA doesn't book feuds like that a lot of the time. I don't know why. So I like that part. It's just a shame that it happened in a feud I don't care about. Jeff Jarrett versus Kurt Angle. The match was strong. I can't criticize the wrestling, although it was not the best match these guys have had. But the overbooking with Karen and the referee really got excessive towards the end. I can't stand this feud. Kurt Angle doesn't deserve this. This whole thing is just starting to come off as a way for Jeff and Karen to point at Kurt and go, yeah, 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 yeah. And I cannot believe they're pushing Jeff Jarrett this much. In 2011, for Jeff Jarrett to be as high up on the card as he is just ludicrous. I'm not going to criticize the match, but this feud itself is just... I want it to end. Ken Anderson versus Jeff Hardy for the world title. Ladder match. Oh shit! Huh. Man, how'd I ever live without that thing? This was a good car wreck style match. I mean, they botched the finish, but it was a good match to end the pay-per-view. Don't agree with Hardy winning the belt back at all. That's stupid. Those drug charges have not gone away, and last I heard, Jeff was still planning to plead guilty, so I don't know what TNA's doing here. It's obvious the original plan was to build up to Hardy versus Rob Van Dam, probably a lockdown, and I guess that's back on now. But when Anderson won the title, they should have changed the plan. To switch the title back to Hardy after 1 month, why even have Anderson win it in the first place? I hate these hotshot title changes, and TNA does this all the time. So, against all odds, you know, for a pay-per-view that had no hype and no intrigue, it was okay. And there were a couple good matches on there. I was just looking for an entertaining way to kill 3 hours, and I got that. If I'd had any expectations, I'd probably feel pretty underwhelmed, but there were no expectations. TNA made sure of that. In their minds, the February 3rd Impact and now the March 3rd Impact were just much more important than Against All Odds. I just hope they know not to expect a big buy rate for this pay-per-view.